What's the weirdest thing your parent has ever done for you and why? My dad, a hardcore conspiracy theorist, once rented out an entire IMAX theater. For me, because I said I wanted to see Interstellar on the biggest screen possible. He actually went to the theater manager and somehow convinced him this was a vital mission to protect a national treasure. Me, watching a movie. I had the entire theater to myself. Just me and a bewildered usher who kept peeking in, probably expecting a superhero to burst through screen. Still not sure if he thought the aliens were watching. My mom is creative. For my 16th birthday, she decided my backyard needed more sparkle. She spent 3 days carefully gluing a million tiny iridescent glass shards onto every single surface. The fence, the bird bath, even our old lawnmower. It looked like a disco ball had exploded everywhere. Unfortunately, the next rainstorm washed about half of it away, leaving me with a driveway that looked like a glitter bomb had gone off. She swore it was art, and I was too embarrassed to argue. When I was in college, I had a major craving for a very specific, hard-to-find regional barbecue sauce. I complained about it once to my dad. The next week, a package arrived. Inside was a gallon jug of the sauce, and a note saying he'd driven 8 hours, round trip, to a tiny town because he heard they had the best stuff. He just grinned and said, "Never settle for mediocre sauce, son." My mother has always been prone to hyperbole. When I was about 7, I lost my favorite stuffed unicorn. I was devastated. Instead of a normal search, she declared a state of emergency for the household. She organized a grid search, interrogated the dog, and drew up detailed maps of potential hiding spots. The investigation lasted 3 days and involved binoculars and a magnifying glass. The unicorn was eventually found under my bed, but the sheer theatricality of the search is something I'll never forget. My dad, a brilliant but socially awkward engineer, wanted to make sure I had the best science fair project. I was struggling with a basic volcano model. He spent a week coding a simulation of a volcanic eruption on our old Commodore 64, complete with pixelated lava flows and sound effects. We presented it to the judges. They were utterly bewildered. I got second place, but he was beaming like he discovered a new element. Said the digital majesty of science was more important than winning. My mom, bless her heart, doesn't understand video games at all. One year, for my birthday, she bought me what she thought was the ultimate gaming setup. It was an old, massive CRT television, a rotary phone she decorated with stickers, and a VCR. Her logic? You can watch movies and call your friends, right? That's like gaming, isn't it? I was too stunned to even laugh. Still have the phone. It's a treasure nightmare. My dad is a former librarian and a bit of a romantic. I was complaining about a rare, out-of-print book I couldn't find. He vanished for a weekend. Turns out, he drove to another state to visit a dusty, used bookstore rumored to have a copy. He came back smelling of old paper and triumph, holding the exact edition I wanted. He just said, "A good story deserves to be read, no matter the distance." My mom's always been eccentric. For my graduation trip, instead of money or a car, she bought me a personal llama. It was an actual llama, complete with a little saddle and a guide. She explained it was for moral support and carrying my worldly possessions. We hiked for 2 days. The llama, Bartholomew, was surprisingly chill, but definitely made for some awkward roadside encounters. Mom insisted it was the most authentic graduation experience I could have. My dad, a retired history professor with a penchant for the dramatic, once hired a guy in a full knight's armor to deliver my pizza. I was 14 and had a crush on the delivery driver, so my dad decided to spice things up. The knight arrived on a bicycle, announced my order with a booming voice, and presented me with a single rose. My crush just stared, speechless. My dad, meanwhile, was in the background, cackling. It was mortifyingly epic. My mom, bless her eccentric heart, decided my entire family needed to learn synchronized swimming for my 10th birthday party. She'd watched a documentary and was convinced it was the next big family bonding activity. So, for 3 Saturdays leading up to my party, we were all in the local pool, awkwardly splashing and attempting formations. My dad looked like a drowning walrus. The performance itself was a disaster, but the sheer absurdity of it all is still legendary in our family. When I was struggling with a particularly gruesome biology dissection in high school, my dad, a man of science and terrible jokes, stepped in. He didn't help with the dissection. Instead, he spent 3 hours meticulously crafting a life-sized, anatomically correct papier-mâché replica of the frog, complete with tiny organs made from Play-Doh. He presented it to me as a study guide, complete with glitter intestines. I passed, mostly thanks to the sheer visual aid and my inability to stop laughing. My dad is a talented woodworker. For my 18th birthday, I mentioned wanting a comfortable reading chair. He took it literally. He built me a solid oak throne. It was enormous, intricately carved with my initials, and surprisingly uncomfortable due to its sheer weight and lack of recline. It took up half my tiny dorm room. I ended up selling it to the drama department for set design. He thought he'd made me a queen. My mom is incredibly competitive. For a school talent show I was forced to enter, she decided my talent should be extreme ironing. She spent weeks ironing a dress shirt while rollerblading backwards and juggling apples. The show was in a school gymnasium, and she looked absolutely ridiculous. The judges were baffled. I hid backstage, wishing the earth would swallow me whole. She, however, beamed with pride. We didn't win, thankfully. My dad, a former opera singer, decided to serenade my crush. I was 15, deeply mortified, and had just introduced him. Instead of a polite handshake, my dad launched into a full-blown aria about my virtues and radiant smile, complete with dramatic gestures and a spotlight he somehow conjured from a desk lamp. My crush's eyes were wide, not with admiration, but pure terror. He left shortly after. I avoided my dad for a week. My mom, an avid gardener, once decided the best way to help me study for my final exams was to turn my bedroom into a Zen garden. This involved covering my entire floor in sand, strategically placing rocks, and filling the air with the scent of lavender incense. It was supposed to be calming. It was, instead, a tripping hazard and impossible to sleep in. I ended up studying in the bathtub, surrounded by my textbooks and a strategically placed potted fern. My dad, a programmer, once tried to optimize my social life. I was complaining about not knowing anyone at a new job. He decided the best solution was to write a script that would analyze people's online profiles and generate optimal conversation starters for me. The output was bizarre, suggesting I ask strangers about their preferred vowel sounds or their emotional resonance with beige. I deleted it immediately and just bought everyone coffee instead. Much more effective. My dad, a conspiracy theorist to the highest order, decided my fear of spiders was a government plot to control us. So for my 16th birthday, he built me a spider-proof suit out of tinfoil and duct tape. It looked like a reject from a low-budget sci-fi movie. He even gave me a tinfoil helmet. "This will shield you from their mind control rays, son," he declared, completely serious. I didn't even have to go outside that day. My mom, a former theater kid who peaked in high school, decided my entire senior year needed a soundtrack. Every car ride, every study session, every dreaded doctor's appointment, she'd bust out her ukulele and sing me personalized, often inaccurate songs about my life. The worst was when she performed Ode to My Acne in front of my entire algebra class. She called it performance art. I called it torture. My dad, a programmer, once tried to optimize my social life. He created a flowchart for me, detailing the most efficient ways to make friends, complete with risk assessments and projected ROI for social interactions. It had branches for awkward small talk, forced laughter, and even strategic compliment deployment. He genuinely believed this would help. I just printed it and used it as a coaster. My mom, an avid gardener with a penchant for the dramatic, decided the best way to help me overcome my shyness was to stage a botanical intervention. She literally filled my bedroom with potted plants, so many I could barely move, and then sat in the middle of it all, demanding I talk to each one, giving them personalities and telling them my deepest secrets. She called it plant therapy. I called it a fire hazard. My dad, a former opera singer, decided to serenade my crush. I was about 15, deeply infatuated, and mortally embarrassed. He showed up at her doorstep, in full tuxedo, yes, a tuxedo, and proceeded to belt out Nessun Dorma with the intensity of 1,000 suns. My crush's dad answered the door and looked like he'd seen a ghost. My crush just stared, mouth agape. Safe to say, the romance didn't blossom. My mom's always been eccentric. For my graduation trip, instead of a normal gift, she bought me a life-size cardboard cutout of a surprisingly muscular Elvis Presley. She insisted he'd be my travel companion and that I should confide in him about my hopes and dreams. I dragged that thing through 3 countries, took photos with it everywhere, and honestly, he was a pretty good listener. My mom, bless her heart, doesn't understand video games. I was complaining about a tough boss fight, and she, wanting to help, decided to strategize. She sat next to me, armed with a notepad, and started drawing out attack patterns, naming the boss Mr. Grumpy Face, and giving me pep talks like, "You can do it, champ. Just dodge his angry scribbles." My dad, a retired history professor with a penchant for the dramatic, decided my college application essay was historically inaccurate on a fundamental level. He locked himself in his study for 3 days, emerged with a 50-page correction document complete with footnotes, bibliographies, and his own handwritten annotations about the socio-political ramifications of my chosen topic. He presented it like a peace treaty. My dad is a retired accountant. For my 7th birthday, he decided I needed to understand the true value of money. He He spent the entire party meticulously tracking every single balloon's air inflation cost, the exact sugar content of the cake slices, and even estimated the depreciation of the party hats. He presented me with a full ledger of our party expenses and showed me how we had a net surplus of joy. I just wanted to pop balloons. My mom has this intense belief in positive affirmations. When I was stressing about my finals in college, she didn't offer to help study or bring me snacks. Instead, she spent a solid hour outside my dorm room, chanting, "You are a brain surgeon. You are a brain surgeon," at the top of her lungs. Apparently, she thought the sheer volume and absurdity would somehow imprint the knowledge onto me. I got a C, but my roommate now thinks I have a cult following. My dad was a carpenter with a flair for the dramatic. When I was about 10 and desperately wanted a tree house, he didn't build a simple one. Oh no, he spent weeks building me a miniature, fully furnished replica of our living room, suspended about 15 feet up in the oak tree. It had tiny sofa, a minuscule fireplace, even a little coffee table. The why was always about the artistry, but mostly it was just his elaborate way of avoiding actual treehouse carpentry. My mom is a staunch environmentalist, which is usually great. But one year for my birthday, she decided to reconnect me with nature. Instead of a party, she took me camping for 3 days. No tent, just sleeping bags under the stars. She insisted we forage for all our food, which resulted in me eating a lot of questionable berries and a very sad squirrel. She called it a digital detox and primal bonding experience. I called it food poisoning. My dad, a man of few words but grand gestures, saw me struggling with a broken bicycle chain. Instead of just fixing it, he disappeared for 2 days. He returned with a custom-built, one-speed bicycle entirely from scratch. He welded every piece, polished every cog. He'd apparently been so inspired by my minor inconvenience that he felt compelled to craft me a masterpiece. It was beautiful, completely impractical for my neighborhood, and weighed about as much as a small car. My mom is convinced that essential oils can solve everything. When I was getting my wisdom teeth out and was understandably nervous about the anesthesia, she didn't bring me a comforting blanket or a book. Instead, she meticulously applied lavender oil to every single pulse point on my body, insisting it would calm my nervous system and prepare me for a restful slumber. I smelled like a potpourri shop for a week, and the dentist looked thoroughly confused.